Good morning. Thank you all for joining. We're going to give just a brief moment to clear the waiting room. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the city of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board, and today I'm joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly if you plan to provide testimony before the board this morning. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to provide testimony. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Beginning with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, Boston Ballroom Corporation, doing business as Royale, located at 279 Tremont Street. Date of the incident, November 23rd, 2024. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, 2 counts, performer on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, I see someone on an iPhone raising their hand. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Stephen Barboza.
Stephen Barboza, thank you.
Imari Brown.
Stephen Barboza, Imari Brown, thank you very much. Anybody else on behalf of the licensee? Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I'm present on behalf of the Boston Police Department.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify on this matter?
Sorry, it's the Royale matter.
Yes, this is Royale. This is item number 1.
Detective Brian Hurld.
Great. Thank you, Detective. I'll ask one more time. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify on item number 1? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do I still see Mr. Barboza on my screen? Mr. Barboza, if you could please turn your video back on so we can swear you in. There we go. Oh, there. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record for the board?
I can read it.
That'd be great if you could please proceed.
Okay. About 1:38 a.m. on Saturday, November 23rd, 2024, Officer Brown in the Alpha 425 Alpha responded to a radio call for an assault and battery report at 279 Tremont Street, Boston, Mass. Upon arrival, Officer Brown spoke to the victim, George Byrne, date of birth 3/15/04, who stated he was kicked in the face and then hit with a microphone by the singer on stage. The victim's father stated he witnessed the assault, and the singer, later identified as Little Xan, assaulted the victim for no reason. The father stated his son was knocked out for a few minutes, which prompted him to call EMS. He stated EMS responded, however, Byrne refused treatment. Officer Brown entered the club in hopes to locate the suspect. However, staff stated he assaulted another patron and security officers and then fled. Officer Brown stated she would file a report. The patrol supervisor was notified to conduct a code 35.
Thank you. We do have a supplemental as well.
Yes, I can read that. Subsequent investigation by Detective Hurl revealed that the victim, George Byrne, was assaulted by performer Nicholas Diego Leanos, aka Little Xan. Video footage was obtained through the help of management at Royale Boston. This video was recorded from an elevated position at the rear of the venue and shows Mr. Leanos strike George Byrne twice in the head with the microphone, causing him to fall to the ground. Leanos then kicks Mr. Byrne in the head, causing him to stumble and remain unsteady on his feet. Mr. Byrne was able to share a photo of Mr. Leanos on stage just prior to the incident. An additional video was released by TMZ, which showed the incident from the vantage point of someone on the stage standing behind Mr. Leanos as he performed. A screen recording of this video was taken and preserved as evidence. Directly after the incident, Mr. Leanos fled off stage and down a flight of stairs typically used as a fire exit. He exited the building and quickly re-entered after being yelled at by security staff who stated that door normally remains off limits. Detective Hurl was able to speak with Sorry. Are we good?
Yep, we're good. Sorry about that.
Yep. Detective Hurl was able to speak with Redlands, California Detective Jameson Liu in order to obtain an address for Mr. Leanos. Detective Liu confirmed that his department has 8 documented contacts with Nicholas Diego Leanos and that he recognized him from the video of the incident, which has been circulating on social media. Detective Hurl was eventually put in contact with Mr. Leanos' manager, Terrell Johnson, who stressed that his client wanted to be cooperative in the legal proceedings surrounding this incident. He provided the address for attorney Stephen Allen, who would be representing Mr. Leanos, and asked that all correspondence be sent to his law office. This law office has been added at the address of Mr. Leanos. Based on the previously mentioned facts, a criminal complaint will be issued at Boston Municipal Court against Nicholas Diego Leanos for the following 2 counts: A and B with a dangerous weapon microphone, A and B dangerous weapon shod foot.
Thank you very much. I do see that we've been joined by more representatives from the licensee. Mr. Kalivas, I'm going to ask you to unmute if you could please identify yourself. You have not been sworn in yet.
George Kalivas.
Chuck Del Pidio.
Thank you. Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Would the licensee, Mr. Kalivas, Mr. Del Pidio, Mr. Barboza, like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah. This was that same college party that we dealt with a couple weeks ago, the Harbor-Dale thing. So the night was, we got through the night, but about 1:30, I got a call on the radio for someone who needed an ambulance. When I went to the kitchen in the back, there was a tall young gentleman and his father with security. I was told that the DJ / performer or whatever kicked this kid in the head, and while he was on stage, while the performer was on stage, so he was like 4 or 5 feet above this guy. The kid was like, he was conscious, but he was out of it. So I called 911 right away, asked for an ambulance and for BPD. And like the report says, the artist, we looked all over for the artist. The artist ran off and escaped down an emergency stairwell behind the stage. The Boston police asked for a video footage. I got them all the footage that I had. We searched the whole club and the building for this performer, but he was already gone. So I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. With that, we'll see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thanks. So tell me a little bit about this performer. Has he performed there before? What you knew about him?
No, I didn't know anything about him. He's from California. He's Little Xanax. That's all I know.
Okay, so getting into, can you break down what kind of security you have by the stage?
I have security at each side of the stage. That part of the stage was actually closed off. We didn't allow people to go up and down the 2 sides of the stage. But there's security right there. guarding both stairwells that go onto the stage, so that we didn't have people, trying to get on the stage. We normally don't allow anybody but the performers or, DJs or whatever to be on the stage. So there's no, there's plenty of security that night.
So what do you think happened? Was he provoked by the audience? Can you give me a little more information about what you think happened as the manager?
I don't know if the gentleman who was kicked, if he was taunting or say anything. The video doesn't show any of that. And somebody tried to say that he threw something at the DJ, but there was no evidence of that either. Nothing was thrown at the DJ at this performer. I think the performer just snapped. This is all out of the blue. There's nothing led up to this.
Okay, so did you do your own internal investigation and determine that nothing was thrown at the performer?
Yes.
Do you have any notes like that you can share with us so we could add them to the record and take them into consideration?
No. Yeah, I could write. Yeah, I don't have them with me.
Yeah, that's fine, just so we can review it. So he went out the back stairs. Maybe I misunderstood when the police report was being written. I thought that your security told him to go back inside.
It wasn't our security. It was he was trying to get out an emergency exit door that was at street level. And we're up on the third floor.
Mhm.
So he went down the stairwell, opened the door, and there were people out back on Warrington Street who said, "Hey, you can't go out that door." So he went back in that door and got out some other way. I mean, it happened fast.
Okay, I might have other questions, but I'll turn it over to Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon.
Sure.
I think my question would be for the detective. It says in your supplemental report that the authorities in California had, several incidents with this individual. Are these kind of known to the public? Like, could have been known to the venue before this happened, or not? I don't really know anything about this guy.
It didn't really seem, and it just seemed like they knew them from being the local PD that him and his family had dealt with as he grew up.
Okay, I guess that's all I have then.
Did I hear correctly that there were actually 2 assaults? I was trying to follow the report.
No, sorry.
So it was the same instance, but it was first it was the microphone, and then he kicked him.
Okay, and so those 2 assaults were close to each other. The second one could not have been prevented.
No, they were probably 5 seconds apart at the longest, maybe not even.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from the board at this time? Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Mr. Kalivas, please do submit any internal notes about the incident that you have.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on, calling item number 2, Facility Concession Services LLC, doing business as Spectrum, located at 89 Guest Street in Brighton. Date of the incident, December 28th, 2024. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, patron on patron in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Attorney Green, members of the board, Kristen Scanlon for the licensee. With us today, we have several folks, including Josh Body, who's Senior Vice President of Bowery Presents, Hal Gould, who's VP of Operations for Bowery, Damian Healy, who just chimed in. He is the general manager. He was not there that evening, but was subsequently an integral part of cooperation with police investigation. Ashley Lord, the Assistant General Manager, Michael Curry, the manager of record, Jason Davies, a security manager, and Haz Ibrahim, security operator as well.
Thank you very much. If And anyone who is planning on providing testimony, if you could just please be on camera so that we can swear you in. And with that, I will ask who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department.
Detective Anthony Catone, District 14.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant William Gallagher from Licensed Premise Unit will be reading in the LPV.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. I'm just going to ask if you could turn your video on so that we can swear you in. And Attorney Scanlon, I believe on behalf of the licensee, I only see Mr. Healy and Mr. Lord. Are there additional individuals who will be testifying?
Mainly these two will likely testify. Jason Davies, you may, if you could turn your camera on. And
Oh, I do see Mr. Davies. Thank you.
thanks.
Great. With that, can all who plan to testify please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell Mr. Davies, if you could please raise your right hand as well? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Detective Catone, will you be reading the initial report to the record?
I will be.
Great. If you could please proceed for the board.
Okay. About 2:34 a.m. on Sunday, December 1st of 2024, Officer Verez and the Kilo 424 Alpha responded to a radio call for a person stabbed at 89 Guest Street. On scene to assist, multiple officers, detectives, and security were already on scene. On arrival, Officer Verez observed a group gathered around an ambulance, Boston EMS A14. Officers attempted to get a description of the suspects from the victim, Jean Keller Dawn, in the ambulance. But officers observed the victim, Dawn, suffering from 4 stab wounds to his lower back. Officers observed significant amount of blood on the stretcher and the victim's clothing. Officer Verez was instructed by the Kilo 914 Sergeant Edwards to go with the victim to the hospital. While in the ambulance, the victim could not stay awake and stated that the suspect was a tall black male. The victim also stated he was having trouble breathing. It should be noted the victim is from Montreal, Canada, and his primary language is French. Boston EMS A14 transported victim to Beth Israel Hospital. Dr. Fritz determined the victim's condition to be non-life threatening. The victim's lungs showed signs of collapsing at approximately 04 hours a.m. Sergeant Detective Fitzgerald, along with Detectives Belgrave, Detective Levichev, processed the crime scene at 90 Guest Street. Detective Belgrave and Levichev arrived at Beth Israel Hospital at approximately 5:50 a.m. and secured the victim's clothing from exam room 22 in the emergency room. Sherby Jermaine and Sarah Dunn came to visit the victim. Jermaine and Sarah Dunn stated to officers Verez that their purse and phone were stolen when the fight broke out. Jermaine described her phone as an iPhone 12 with a black case, and she had a picture of herself in London on the lock screen. Sarah Dawn described her purse to be black and brown, crossbody coach bag, various cards inside. Officer Verez observed scrapes to both Jermaine and Sarah Dawn's knees and elbows. Jermaine stated her phone was turned off immediately after the fight, was broken up, and believes it was stolen. Sarah Dawn stated her crossbody bag was taken during the fight. Both Jermaine and Sarah Dawn could not recall who they believe stole their belongings. Sarah Dawn and Sherry Jermaine stated to Officer Reeves that the fight began because an unknown female cut in line for a drink at the bar. It was called out. The unknown female was described to be a black female wearing a red clothing. Jermaine stated the unknown female lied and told her boyfriend and security that she was assaulted. The victim and relatives decided to leave Roadrunner and request a lift. Sarah Dawn stated they went into the building across the street to wait for the lift. While waiting for their ride, they were approached by various males and the same unknown female from inside the Roadrunner. Both Jermaine and Sarah Dawn stated everything happened too fast, but believe the suspect who stabbed the victim was a tall black male wearing a white T-shirt and may have had braids. That is the original report. There's also 2 supplemental reports that go along with this. There was 2 arrests made, 2 people were charged, and a third person was also subsequently charged.
Thank you for that. Sergeant Detective Gallagher.
Yes, sir. I'll be reading a police report that I wrote on 12/28/2024 at 8:50 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher of the Licensed Premise Unit responded to Roadrunner Concert Venue at 89 Guest Street to speak with staff about an incident that occurred on 12/1/2024. Boston Police Incident Report number 242-101587. On 12/1/2024 at about 2:34 a.m., officers responded to 89 Guest Street for the report of a person stabbed. The original report was written by P.O. Virez, the Kilo 422. Officers were informed that the incident started inside the venue after an unknown female patron cut the line. Victim and witness left the venue and were waiting for an Uber when they were attacked by the same unknown female, and several meals resulted in one person being stabbed. On the evening of the 28th, Sergeant Gallagher spoke with the manager, Mr. Ashley Lord, who was aware of the incident. Mr. Lord stated that Roadrunner handed over all the video evidence to BPD and were working with D14 detectives. As a result of this incident, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued a licensed premise notice number 017939 to Roadrunner for assault and battery, dangerous weapon, patron and patron. Mr. Lord signed for and accepted the notice. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, just as a preliminary matter, we received a third report, a supplemental. I don't know if that needs to be
Yes,
read in.
yep, we do have, give me one moment.
Okay.
Detective Catone, will you be reading that into the record as well?
Yes, if you would like me to, I will.
Yeah, I think there's some pertinent information in there for the board.
Okay. All right. So on December 17th, 2024, Detective Catone received an email from Lieutenant Detective Lapointe from the Family Justice Center. This email was with regards to information provided by Gemini Hullum, the mother of suspect Anthony Collum Hullum, about the stabbing that took place in front of the Warrior Ice Arena on December 1st, 2024, after a concert venue.
Detective Catone, this is not the supplemental that we're referring to.
This is the third one. You said the third one. There's a second one, then there's a third one.
Yeah, I don't believe
Just the first one.
You want me to read the second one? The second report?
I don't know which number it is.
It's the
Yeah,
same.
supplemental number one.
Yeah.
If I may, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supplemental number 1. All right, on December 1st, 2024, at approximately 2:34 a.m., the Kilo 422 Alpha responded to a 911 radio call for a person stabbed at 89 Guest Street, Brighton, Roadrunner, Boston. On arrival, Boston EMS and responding units from D14, officers observed victim Gene Keller Don being treated by Boston EMTs for 5 stab wounds to his back area. Officers observed significant amount of blood on the stretcher and on the victim's clothing. During this investigation, surveillance video of this incident was obtained by myself, Detective Levichev, and Belgrave from Lee Hatcher, account manager of Northeast Security. Video evidence recovered showed a verbal argument between the victims, relatives, and friends of 3 unidentified black males just before it escalated into a physical confrontation between both parties inside the foyer of the Warrior Ice Arena located at 90 Guest Street. Also, surveillance video recovered from Roadrunner Boston just prior to the stabbing showed what appeared to be a verbal argument between a black female wearing a red hooded sweatshirt and 2 black males, one of whom was identified as Max Henley Philogene, a relative of victim Gene Keller Don. The second black male involved in this argument, who was wearing a blue ball cap, has yet to be identified, and it was one of 3 main suspects directly involved with this altercation where victim Gene Keller Don was stabbed multiple times. This argument, which appeared to be escalating, took place outside and directly in front of 89 Guest Street, Roadrunner, Boston, as the venue was letting out. Surveillance video recovered by detectives during this investigation captured victim Gene Keller Don getting stabbed by a light-skinned black male with a large build, wearing brown vest with a cream or tan colored shirt, blue jeans with dark colored shoes with white soles. This suspect also had 2 long braids on the back of his head. There was also a TikTok video posted online of this incident where the suspect was observed holding a knife. Surveillance video also showed this same suspect striking victim Jean Celadon on the back area while in the immediate area of the Warrior Ice Arena. Immediately after this altercation between victim Jean Celadon and the suspect, victim Jean Celadon is observed on surveillance video running away from the suspect and grabbing his left side back area with his left hand and appears to be in pain as he begins limping away while still clutching his back. The second suspect was also observed carrying a knife during this altercation. At one point, attempted to stab two individuals who were later identified as Francesco Spanti and Lineker Filogen, while inside the foyer of the Warrior Ice Arena. Prior to the stabbing, surveillance video shows a suspect who stabbed victim Jean Celadon operating a gray 2014 Volkswagen Passat bearing Mass Reg 3 Yankee Hotel Juliet 45 on Guest Street. This motor vehicle is registered to Colin Anthony Hullum, date of birth 12/22/87, who resides at 101 Cushion Ave, apartment number 3 in Dorchester, Mass. After reviewing suspect Colin Hullum's license photo, it is clearly evident that suspect Colin Hullum is the suspect in a surveillance video who stabbed victim Jean Celadon during this incident. Suspect Hullum is observed on surveillance video in the parking Mass Reg 3 Yankee Hotel Juliet 45 on Life Street near the New Balance Fitness Center at approximately 11:55 p.m. Suspect Colin Hullum then exits from his motor vehicle and is eventually walking towards the Roadrunner. Suspect and drives away at approximately. Also, during this investigation, Detective Patone met with Damon Healy, General Manager of Roadrunner Boston. Mr. Healy provided myself with a list of people who purchased tickets to this venue, as well as additional surveillance video and photos of the suspects involved in this incident. It should be noted that suspect Hullum's name appears on the list and purchased a ticket on 11/17/24. Detective Catone also discovered during this investigation that above listed suspect James Middleton, date of birth 3/3/89 of 7 Westcott Street, Dorchester, also purchased a ticket for this venue. After reviewing suspect James Middleton's RMV license photo, it is also clearly evident that suspect Middleton is the suspect observed in the surveillance video attempting to stab victims Francesco Spanti and Lineker Filogen while inside of the foyer Warrior Ice Arena during this altercation. A LexisNexis inquiry of suspect James Middleton also provided an address of 17 Milano Street in Providence, Rhode Island, for suspect Middleton. It should be noted that suspect James Middleton provided an address of 17 Milano Street during the purchase of his tickets to this venue, Boston Roadrunner. Suspect Middleton has an active 2016 BMW Mass Reg 4F Frank Foxtrot X-Ray Yankee 13, which is registered to 7 Westcott Street in Dorchester. On December 2nd, 2024, Detective Catone responded to Beth Israel Hospital, the fire building, room number 709, and met with victim Jean Celadon and his cousin Sherry Jermaine. I took digital photos of victim Don's 5 stab wounds and his injuries to his back area. It should also be noted that victim Don stated to myself that he had a tube inserted into his lungs to get rid of excess fluid as a result of the stab wounds he received during the incident. Detective Catone also conducted a recorded audio interview with victim Jean Celadon and his cousin Sherry Jermaine. Victim Jean Celadon's testimony and recollection of this incident is consistent with the video evidence that was recovered and describes his assailant that stabbed him as wearing a brown vest and jeans, who was a bigger, taller, beefy, brown, light-skinned male with braids, which is consistent with the description of suspect Colin Hullum. It should also be noted that victim Jean Celadon appears to be breaking up fights during this incident and is not the aggressor. On December 3rd, 2024, I met with victim Jean Celadon's cousin Sherry Jermaine at District 14 to collect a baseball hat, which was worn by one of the suspects and which was recovered immediately following this incident by Damien Bellamy, a friend of victim Jean Celadon. As a result of this investigation, I sought arrest warrants out of Brighton District Court for Colin Anthony Hullum for assault with intent to kill, ABDW knife and seriously bodily injury, and also James S. Middleton for assault by means of a dangerous weapon, a knife. That's all I have for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Catone, for reading that in for us. And now, Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thanks very much. A few questions for Detective Catone, if I may. Detective, I know you weren't the original author of the initial report by Officer Verez, but if I could ask you a few questions regarding that. The report indicates a call for a person stabbed at 89 Guest Street, the initial call, correct?
Correct.
And it states upon arrival that the scene of the incident was actually across the street from 89 Guest Street at 90 Guest Street.
Correct.
And that incident occurred inside the foyer area of 90 Guest Street that leads to a parking garage?
No, the stabbing actually occurred outside of 90 Guest Street in front of the Warrior Ice Arena.
Okay. And in addition to several other officers on scene to assist was overnight security supervisor for Boston Landing, Steve Daniel, correct?
Yes, according to the report.
And your understanding is that that area where the incident occurred was under the control of Boston Landing?
The area that the incident occurred is City of Boston. It's not under control of Boston Landing.
Is it under supervision of Boston Landing?
Maybe their property is, but the street itself and the sidewalks are under control of the City of Boston.
Okay. Officer Verez traveled with the main victim to the hospital in the ambulance, correct?
According to the report, yes.
And during that ride, the victim informed the officer that the suspect was a tall black male?
Yes, according to the report.
In addition to the male victim, Gene Keller Don, there were two other victims who were also allegedly robbed and assaulted, correct?
Correct.
And these two victims were Sarah Don and Sherby Germain?
Correct, according to the report, yes.
And according to the report, Officer Verez first learned of the additional victims while at the hospital with Gene Keller Don, correct?
Correct.
And officer also learned that these two additional victims did not know who stole their belongings, correct?
Correct.
And this was in part as they informed the officer that everything happened too fast?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't until interviewing the witnesses and victims that the officer learned an incident occurred inside the licensed premises earlier that evening, correct?
Correct.
To your knowledge, that was not learned at the scene, correct?
To my understanding, no.
And from what the officer learned, and you as well as part of the subsequent investigation, this incident occurred earlier in the evening when allegedly a female cut in line at a lounge bar, correct?
That is also correct.
And you were provided a description of the then unknown female, correct?
That is correct.
And Ms. Germain reported to the officer that the unknown female lied and told who was believed at the time to be her boyfriend and security that she was allegedly assaulted?
Correct.
To your knowledge and throughout the course of this investigation, no reports are made by security regarding any assault earlier in the evening, correct? I should say by or to security.
There's no like Boston police incident reports or anything like that. I don't know if they have internal reports, but
throughout the
I
course of the
believe so.
investigation, though, no security told you at any time that any patron made a report of an assault inside the premises that evening, correct?
No, I informed the employees of Roadrunner that allegations were made that there was a fight at the bar, that someone made allegations that a female wearing all red clothing had cut them in line to get drinks. And that's where the altercation started. And that I would like to see the video to see if that supported those claims.
Great, thank you. And Lastly, on Officer Perez's report, while the officer was at the hospital interviewing the victims, that's when the officer learned that the victims went into the building across the street to wait for a ride share, correct?
Correct.
If I can turn to your second or first, your first report, I believe that you also just read.
Yep, the supplemental one.
Yes. Your report indicates you obtained surveillance video of the assault incident from Northeast Security, correct?
Correct.
And from reviewing this video, your observations were that a verbal agreement ensued between the victims and three unidentified black males prior to escalating to a physical confrontation while inside the foyer of the Warrior Ice Arena, correct?
Correct.
And your report also indicates you additionally obtained surveillance footage from Roadrunner as well, correct?
That is also correct.
And in reviewing the Roadrunner surveillance footage, your observations were of a separate and previous verbal argument between different individuals than who you observed in the foyer surveillance footage, correct?
That as outside of the foyer or inside? I mean, the one at the Roadrunner, it was the same group of individuals who were in the same altercation, verbal argument, which turned physical inside the foyer. And then where the victim that was stabbed, he was stabbed on the outside of 90 Guest Street.
So in your report, you indicate you only observed one of the three main suspects directly involved in the stabbing incident in the foyer, where in the video.
The stabbing happened outside the foyer.
Okay.
There was a verbal argument inside the foyer, which led outside, and then that's where the victim was stabbed.
Understood that, but just to break this down a little bit, your observations of the Roadrunner video footage under the marquee only involved one of the three main suspects who were directly involved in the stabbing incident that subsequently happened across the street, correct?
Well, there was a verbal argument between a group. People would have to go through the video and I did painstakingly. And so the suspect, Mr. Hullum, I did not observe and that video from Roadrunner. I observed the female who's wearing a red hoodie. That was part of that argument. I observed her in the video and a second gentleman, one with the hat that was recovered.
And that besides those two, the two primary suspects charged with assault, which were Colin Hullum and James Middleton, were not evident in the Roadrunner surveillance video, correct?
Hullum, I did not observe. Middleton, I'm not sure. I may have. I have to go back and look at that one. Just when everybody was arriving, but I know they purchased tickets. They were online. They had to provide email addresses.
Okay.
And they were on the roster for attending that event.
Right. No weapon of any kind was observed during the verbal argument directly outside of Roadrunner, correct?
No weapon.
And to be clear, the surveillance video that captured the assault on victim Jean Keller Don was video obtained from Northeast Security, correct?
Yes, that and also social media.
Okay. I think we've already established this a bit through previous questioning, but two of the three male suspects have been identified, and I believe at least one charged in this incident, correct? And that was Colin Hullum.
And James Middleton.
Yes. At all times throughout your investigation, were Roadrunner staff cooperative with you?
Yes, they were.
Great. Thank you, Detective. No further questions. Just a few questions as well for Sergeant Detective Gallagher. Similar and consistent with the initial report of Officer Perez, what was known to you at the time that you visited the premises was that at some point in the evening, there was some interaction between a then unknown female and other patrons inside the venue, correct?
That's correct.
And the timing of that perhaps maybe wasn't known to you at that point, but in any event isn't indicated in your report, correct?
No, ma'am, it was all on the prior reports written by the prior officers.
Okay. And what was also known to you at the time was that witnesses left the venue, were waiting for an Uber or Lyft, buying amongst themselves when suddenly they were attacked, correct?
That's what was reported, yes.
And to your knowledge of the investigation, when they left, they went inside the building across the street to wait for their ride, correct?
Correct.
Well, when you visited the venue, you spoke with Assistant General Manager Ashley Lord,
Yes.
and he indicated to you that they were working cooperatively with detectives.
Yes, ma'am.
And at all times during your visit to the venue, were staff cooperative with you?
Yes, they were.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Madam Chair, if I may, just to provide some background before asking additional questions and introducing Damian Healy and Ashley Lord. By way of background, the show that evening was by a particular group called All the Feels. It's an R&B disco DJ group. The doors that evening were at 10 p.m. It was a Saturday night. The show went until closing at 2 a.m. While they do have a 3,500 person capacity, it was only 2,375 scanned tickets that evening. On duty that evening were 35 security guards between stationary and roaming or floating positions, 21 bartenders and barbacks. They also have 2 private EMS on site for every show, and they generally request 2 BPD detail officers for every event. However, detail officers were not present at this particular show. For all intents and purposes, this is was a very isolated incident. While I'd like to take you through the sequence of events that happened that evening chronologically, it's imperative to note that the 3 incidents that you've already heard about and we'll discuss further were not obviously and apparently related to one another to staff in the moment that evening. The initial lounge area incident that's referenced in the detectives' reports and the officers' reports, we can provide to the board similar to the licensee, what the licensee provided to BPD. Timestamp video in a 4 split screen of this lounge area bar. To summarize, what you'll see is that almost at 12:59 a.m. is some type of commotion near the lounge bar. Security manager Jason Davies was present in the lounge area bar and can answer any questions relative to that particular incident. He also provided a previous affidavit to the board. But in less than 15 seconds, this commotion dissipates and the parties separate from each other on their own, leaving the lounge. Despite the fact that it happened quickly, staff can attest to the fact that a bartender made an immediate call to security, but by that time, they approached the situation, it had diffused itself. It wasn't clear then, and even still on surveillance, is not clear who exactly was involved in that incident. But of course, throughout the course of the investigation, quite confident in the aftermath of it, and police agree, obviously, that that was the initial incident that witnesses were referencing as the investigation unfolded. Over an hour later, at closing, you'll see around 2:16 a.m. that a low-grade verbal argument can be observed initially. As it escalates, security appears within 2 minutes and tries to de-escalate, which it briefly does. It continues again for another 2 minutes until more security arrives to de-escalate, and you can see the parties, who we learned are not all the same individuals involved in the subsequent parking garage foyer assault, leave the scene. Mr. Lord will soon confirm to you he walked to the edge of the street to watch the parties head in different directions on Guest Street. And 10 to 15 minutes after this is when the ambush occurred, initially inside the Warrior Ice Arena parking garage foyer. If I may ask a few questions of Ashley Lord, who's the Assistant General Manager. Ashley, just state your name and title at the company for the record.
Ashley Lord, Assistant General Manager.
And how long have you been employed?
5 years as full salary, but altogether over 10 years.
Were you working the night in question?
Yes.
And were any of the alleged suspects or victims known to you or anyone at the licensed premises prior to this evening?
No.
How did you become aware of the incident that occurred in the lounge?
Heard the radio call over radio, and then later talked to Jason Davies, head of security, just to find out any information that he might have had about the incident.
And approximately what time did that occur?
A little bit before 1 a.m.
Did you or any other staff or security identify any patrons that were involved?
No, happened way too quick.
At the time, were you aware of what caused it?
No.
When did you first learn it was due to someone cutting the line at the bar?
Not until I met with the detective and we reviewed some of the investigative notes.
Was there any further incident, to the best of your knowledge, with any patrons on the licensed premises throughout the rest of the evening?
No.
To the best of your knowledge, did any patrons or those involved in this lounge incident report any injuries, assault, or other problem at the bar that evening?
No.
What time did the venue close that evening?
Show ended 2 o'clock, and all patrons were out by 2:32, around that time.
And were you involved in closing procedures?
Yes.
How did you become aware that there was a verbal argument with some patrons outside under the marquee?
Radio call, security, and then I headed up front and actually witnessed the outcome of the verbal altercation when they were dispersing. So,
What, if anything, did you and your security team do to ensure it was diffused and they were dispersed and the parties separated?
we made sure to separate each party and made sure that they walked away from each other in separate directions.
How did you learn of an issue across the street?
While we were in closing mode, we got another radio call of maybe something happening across the street. And that's when I decided to go outside and check to make sure everything was all right.
So you went across the street and responded to that scene?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions for Mr. Lord at this time, but if I may briefly ask a few questions of Damian Healy, who's the general manager. Damian, your name and title for the record.
Damian Healy, general manager, Roadrunner.
And how long have you been employed by Roadrunner?
From May of 2024.
Were you working this evening in question?
No, I was not.
In your role as general manager, have you cooperated with the Boston Police Department's investigation?
Yes, I have.
It appears, among other things, you provided to Boston Police a list of people who purchased tickets to this show, correct?
Correct.
Did suspect Colin Haloum purchase a ticket to this show?
Yes.
Did you confirm whether or not he entered the venue?
Yes, he does enter the venue via ticket scan, 12:25 a.m., 23 seconds.
Is there any supporting surveillance footage or still images that has him entering?
I have still images of him outside of the venue. He does walk up and away from the venue a couple times. I do not have actual footage of him entering the venue.
Do you have actual footage of him departing the venue?
We do not have footage of him departing the venue.
You're not aware of what time he leaves?
I am not aware, no.
Was it reviewed in an attempt to determine that, however?
Yes.
Was he identified at all during the lounge incident that occurred around 1 a.m.?
No.
Was he attempted to be identified to determine whether or not he was involved in that incident?
Once we got his image, I took a look and I could not confirm that he was in that video.
Thank you. For the board, could you please explain the security entry process to the venue?
Yes. as you walk up to the into the vestibule of the venue, there are mag metal detectors, which are walkthroughs, at which point anything metal in your pockets, as you often would do at a airport or other concert venues, go into a table, a bowl. They get checked separately. You walk through the mag, and there may be a supplemental wanding after that as well, for as they enter the venue.
Do you ever utilize pat downs as well?
Yes, we do.
To your knowledge, that evening were any weapons flagged upon entry?
No.
As part of your cooperation with police and your own internal investigation, did you review surveillance footage of that evening of the interior and exterior of the premises?
Extensively.
And you reviewed lounge incident footage, which police informed you may have been the start of what transpired?
Correct.
And just to confirm that time, when did that happen?
That was at 12:58 a.m. Yes, 12:58 a.m.
And just for the record, what did you observe during your internal investigation and reviewing that?
There is a commotion at the lounge bar. It happens very quickly and it ends very quickly, and the crowd itself kind of breaks it up and takes the two people involved in different directions. Security is there very quickly as well, but by the time they get there, it has been broken up and the two people involved are no longer in the area.
Were you able to positively ID any persons of interest in this footage?
Unfortunately, no.
Did you review further interior venue footage between that lounge incident time and closing?
Yes.
Were any other issues observed with patrons?
No.
Did you review footage of outside at closing time?
Yes.
And as neighboring entities, do you and staff at the licensed premises maintain a relationship with Northeast Security?
Yes, we do.
Do you share details of events with them?
Yes, we do.
Are you able to get in contact with them immediately if necessary?
Yes.
Do you have access to their surveillance system?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions for witnesses at this time, Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may. What you've heard from all testimony today, including from Boston police reports, is that this incident did not happen within the licensed premises. It did not happen immediately outside the licensed premises. It initially transpired inside a building across the street that is wholly outside the licensee's control. Well, then it did spill out in the public way, as we heard from the detective. Nevertheless, when the call came in that something was happening, although staff wasn't aware at the time of the seriousness of the nature of what was happening, the team responded and went across the street to assist. This appears, for all intents and purposes, to be an ambush and an unforeseeable attack. We heard from officers via witnesses and victims that it happened very quickly. The main victim here and his associates or relatives also didn't seem to be of the mindset that anything was about to occur, that they were in harm's way. Additionally, neither the main suspects nor the victim were identified anywhere previously as being involved in any issue that would have led the licensee to believe that something bad or something of this magnitude would happen. As you heard from the detective, the main victim in this instance appears to be attempting to de-escalate the altercation and the verbal argument that was ongoing when he was assaulted. The victim and his relatives or associates had already left the venue, presumably not wanting any issues, and were waiting for a car inside another building when a secondary and later verbal altercation ensued. Of the 5 people primarily involved here, only the one not charged with the stabbing, who's the man referenced in a blue ball cap in the police report, is the only connection between the initial verbal at closing time and the actual stabbing, plus a woman in a red sweatshirt. So while the incidents in the investigation unfolded as related, in live time there was no solid link of people from incident to incident. The aggressors are either unknown or change between the 3 incidents that you hear transpire between about 1 a.m. and a little after 2:30 a.m. There's a large amount of time between the first and second incidents, nearly 90 minutes. And again, time and distance between the second and third incidents, 15 to 20 minutes. Again, unknown at the time they were related. As you learned, parties were not identifiable from the lounge incident, and different parties were involved in the second and third incidents, and all unfolded and became known to the licensee through witness testimony shared with the licensee through the course of the police investigation, which in all likelihood still would not be apparent through any surveillance or live time monitoring alone, due to the fact that nothing was reported but for a brief scuffle, which the licensee did respond to, and a verbal outside, which the licensee did respond to, and nothing else transpired. Nevertheless, following this incident, which was an isolated incident at this venue, the licensee has added a layer of security management with Terrian Group and group called 5280. They're not specific to Roadrunner. They do security for Suffolk Downs as well as various football games, Fenway, the Four Nations tourney, items of that magnitude. And they've also made changes for a heavier presence on the street at closing until all guests are clear, including new stationary and floating posts out front, at the door, by the parking lot that's connected to the building, which is different from the one across the street, and as well as security positioned at the intersection of New Balance Way and Guest Street. Of particular note, this venue has been open for 3 years. There's no incident to speak of at this licensed premises. I know the board is aware of the operator through other venues in the city, and their operations and security management are thorough. All in all, at the time, the licensee did not know that these incidents, again, were related. They had no reason to believe that they were. They had no other notable incidents from inside that night other than the lounge bar incident. Secondly, where the final incident occurred is an area outside of their control, again, in time and distance, after a verbal was dispersed, and didn't involve fully the same people. There were new people involved in that. Certainly not foreseeable. It's terrible what happened, but not foreseeable that a group of people would be ambushed and assaulted in that matter. Lastly, and of note, in addition to the Boston police reports, the Suffolk DA did provide press releases to support the notion that this was an unforeseen ambush. The victims indicate it happened so quickly that they couldn't even provide any identifying factors of who attacked them. However, with the help of Roadrunner and Northeast Security, it's my understanding there have been more arrests involving this matter. With that being said, we're certainly happy to answer any questions or concerns the board might have.
Thank you for that. And with that, we will see if there are any questions at this time. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thanks. I'm not sure who the best person is, maybe one of the staff people or the managers. So the suspects did purchase tickets, but you have no video evidence or evidence that the tickets that they purchased were scanned to get into the establishment?
We have evidence that they were scanned. We have them coming through. We don't have a visual of Colin Holm coming through. I have him at the front door. I do not have him getting scanned into the building.
But you have his ticket scanned or no?
I have his ticket scanned, yes.
So you don't have video footage of him being wanded or going through security?
Not after that point, no.
So what video do you have? You have him scanned, or you have proof of him being scanned from
I
the
have proof of
scanner?
him being scanned, yes.
You weren't able to follow the video of him going through the entrance?
I did not get his information, the name, until much later in the process. So I didn't have that available when looking at the people entering the venue.
I do know all video was supplied to police, so I think maybe detective can speak to whether or not in their review of the footage that was handed over, they were able to identify. There was limited information, I believe, that was shared while the investigation was ongoing.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the detective.
Yeah, detective, do you have indication that the suspects entered and went through the detectors and were wanted?
No. So that information was provided. They have to get their video from like another source. They don't have it like on site, I don't believe. They have to like request it. Okay. And that information was provided, and that was the video that I obtained. And that was specifically asked, do I have them going in, going out, everything like that. And with regards to like the amount of time that they were arguing, the parties that were involved. Let's just say Anthony Cullum, the guy in the blue hat, and then a third party was a Chandra Dixon who was wearing all red. This argument was lasting for a good amount of time outside of the Roadrunner.
Yep.
It wasn't like it was like a 10-second argument. This was going on for quite a long time. And then across the street, you had one security guard who had absolutely zero control of the situation when it was going. It was mayhem. There was no other, like, I didn't see that I observed any other security coming over trying to break up anything. It was complete mayhem when it was going on. There was one security guard, not with Roadrunner. He was with the other company down there, the security, but he was literally by himself and absolutely had no control of the situation. So that's all I have to say with that. But like, yeah, it was definitely should have been, I thought, nipped in the bud a lot sooner, a lot sooner, and this probably could have been avoided.
Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful. Commissioner Curran?
Yes, Detective. In watching the video outside the argument, who is the gentleman in the like black puffer jacket who had on a green hat? I think he took it off. You know who I'm talking about? He was the one most directly arguing with the guy in the blue hat.
Yeah, that seems like he would be either a relative or acquaintance of the victim that got stabbed.
All right, is the victim in that group right there?
Yes, he is.
What is he wearing? As I watch, I just want to know who I'm looking at.
He's the biggest guy. He's like the biggest guy. He's like 6'4", 6'5", probably. He's like and he has like the you can't miss him. I mean, he's like one of the biggest guys in the video. He and the other guy, the suspect, Mr. Hullum, at first they appeared to be like trying to break up fights, both of them, and then once the verbal argument inside the foyer of Warrior Ice Arena spills into the outside, and then something happens where Mr. Hullum turns on the victim and just stabs him. It's an altercation. There's fights breaking out everywhere, and also once that
just to back up, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Currently available to me, and hopefully we'll get more, but I just have the video outside of Roadrunner.
Okay.
Yeah, the one where they're essentially verbally arguing.
Yes.
Although there is some pushing and shoving, right?
Yeah, you can tell it's getting heated and it's escalating. But that argument takes it's happening for a while. It's not like it's a quick argument. It's going on, and it's just you could tell it's like getting to that point. Like should have probably just been, hey, get out of here right now. You go this way, you go that way, and then that probably wouldn't have happened. But then also Chandra Dixon is the girl wearing the red hooded sweatshirt. So when that fight breaks out, you can see her on video running directly across from Roadrunner to Warrior Ice Arena. And then she throws a kick and starts to punch at people that are on the ground.
Okay. So the video I'm watching right outside of Roadrunner, you can clearly see 89.
Yes.
An address. It says it's at about 2:16, something like that, 17, 18, 19. I think it's 12 minutes long. How long between the video I'm able to watch right now and the actual when it reconvenes across the street to another group fight?
It's probably not even like 10 minutes, I don't think.
But it was 10 minutes.
Yeah, probably
around that. Okay. Okay, I guess my next question would be for the premises. In watching the video, I can watch now the camera 2 exterior, or front door 2, right? The one I'm watching, it's in color. Like I said, you can see 89. It's the so-called verbal portion of it. On the side of the street is Roadrunner. I see what I think is one security guard kind of calling on his radio. Is
Yeah,
that-
he seems like he's pretty much there like by himself, like
Yeah.
trying to
So
take care.
my question is for the premises. Am I right? Is that your security guard there?
Yes, that there's a guard that makes the call, and then subsequent security guards arrive later in the video.
Okay, but did they arrive after that group kind of their own volition walks away?
No, it's in the bottom third of the whole transaction. They walk up. I have some timing here. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. Tarian, 218, guard 2 comes up. That's the one that makes the calls. 219, a guard walks out. 219-40. 220, the same guard tries to intervene and de-escalate. At 220-14, we have guard number 4 and guard number 5 walk out, as well as the assistant general manager.
Is this all visible on this front door too?
Yes.
Okay, is it? All right, I'll have to look at it closer. Can you describe all these guards for you guys? What are they wearing?
Generally black. One will have a Tarian, or 2 of them will have Tarian shirts that have Tarian on the front. I'd have to look at if they're not wearing a Tarian shirt, they're in some sort of black. I'd have to look at the video directly to get specifically what they were wearing.
Okay. Who is the first guard that I have seen so far?
I believe that's Zach Vincent, and he's got the lapel on his shoulder, and he's making a call.
Yeah.
Zach, yes.
Okay. Did Zach make a statement? Because he's close enough to hear what they're saying there.
I do not have a statement directly from Zach, no.
Okay, because Zach, I agree with the detective. It seems like Zach's on his own for a while there. He's very concerned about what's happening there. And at one point, the gentleman in the victims group who has the black puffered jacket, who had a green hat on, I think he took it off. It appears to me that he's gesturing to the man in the blue hat that he'll be across the street. Like, come and get me. I'll be across the street. Did anyone talk to Zach about what was said during this exchange? Because to me, you can say it was just verbal, but it seems pretty heated, and knowing what was said would be important.
Ashley or Damien, can you elaborate on any statements provided by Zach?
I was not there that night, so I didn't speak to Zach that night.
Because, regarding foreseeability, if one person is saying whatever, this appears to be, a challenge, what I'm seeing. And without context and without testimony kind of going against that, that's what appears to me. That someone's saying, meet me outside, basically, meet me across the street.
I think it's important to note, though, through the police investigation, that's not anything a witness ever said, that they were being threatened. They said they left the venue to wait for a ride. After a verbal dispersed, and to that point, there's a verbal, but it's not foreseeable a stabbing would ultimately occur.
Yeah, I can't speak to what happened during the police investigation. All I know is I'm asking right now for what Zach heard, and I haven't heard that. And, where is Zach today? He's the one who's most directly in your control, who has a earshot of what was being said here and how heated this would have been. It looks very heated on video. So I'm telling you, look at it. I see a very heated argument that may establish that something bad is foreseeable. And if I'm to be kind of taken off that route, I would want to hear from someone from Zach saying what they were saying wasn't that heated, was innocuous, not what I'm seeing. I mean, it seems like Zach would be a very important person to bring here to prove your case that this was what was happening, what I'm seeing in this video would not lead to a more serious incident.
Was there any internal investigation? Any at all?
Yes, in cooperation and tandem with the entire police department investigation. Jason Davies is on too. Jason, if you can, I believe you responded to outside and we're close to that as well and are identifiable on the video. To your knowledge, as part of your investigation as security manager in conjunction with operations management, were you or any of your staff aware of the context of the verbal agreement between the individuals that are seen on the Roadrunner surveillance footage under the marquee after closing?
I'm sorry, Kristen, can you repeat part of that question? It kind of
Sorry,
skipped out
it
a
was
little.
very long-winded. That's my fault.
There was a skip in it.
You are identifiable in the Roadrunner surveillance footage under the marquee after closing, correct?
Yes.
And you are one of the security personnel that responded to a call that there was a verbal going on outside, correct?
Yes.
And were you close enough to, in your response to that, to hear in any way, or did you thereafter learn of what the context of that verbal happened to be?
I had not. When I got there, it was mostly them trying to get them to separate. And I do believe one of the staff would tell them to go across the street and separate down the street.
And did you witness the parties separating yourself?
Yes.
And did it seem that it was dispersed and headed in opposite directions and folks were safe?
It was enough that it was happening that I walked away when I noticed it was happening and other staff remained.
Thank you.
I was satisfied with what was started.
Commissioner Kern, do you have remaining questions for the licensee?
I mean, I'll just state what was just testified to really doesn't address my question, which is employees of security or your hired security. I watched the video and I'm seeing someone who's making a call who seems quite panicked about what is happening, very concerned, and things are being said there clearly. I don't know what's being said, but all I can interpret is the body language. I want to know what was heard. I would, that would be relevant here. The connection between this, what you call verbal argument, but is really verbal and this physical. People are holding each other's back. This shoves. No punches are thrown. No one's stabbed yet, but it's not just verbal. And you want us to say that there's no foreseeability between this incident and the next incident. I would want direct testimony to say, so-and-so was saying this and the other one was saying that. And it wasn't, there was no threats of violence because I'm seeing,
Commissioner Kern, you muted yourself.
Sorry. Hindsight's 2020. I know there was stabbing after the fact now, but at the time, knowing that, looking at the video, it looks like there's some sort of challenge or threat of a physical altercation going on, especially the one person gesturing directly across the street where the stabbing happened. So.
Damian and Jason, can we revisit with security staff that were outside that evening, and to confirm that any statements were made, and if I may offer to the board post this hearing, any statements regarding that prior to the vote. We can try to get it to in the next 24 hours.
I can do that for sure, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carn, does that address your questions? Do you have further questions for the licensee?
I don't think I have anything further. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
The supplemental submission would be sufficient. Thank you.
Any further questions from the board at this time? That the board will take this matter under advisement at this time. And Attorney Scanlon, if there are any security staff who can provide some color to what may have been heard during the altercation outside, please do provide that to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board has received a request to take an item out of order. There is a Sergeant Detective who has another matter to attend to. Apologies, this is a long hearing. Calling item number 7, MW&W Inc. Doing business as China Pearl Restaurant located at 5 to 9A Tyler Street. Date of the incident, March 22nd, 2025. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, gunshot, patron on patron. In violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Failure to call police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14b. Failure to cooperate with police, door locked in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.10a and b. And entertainment taking place after the posted 2 a.m. close. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I'm Patty Moy. I'm the Director of Operations for China Pearl.
Name is Moy. I think someone else was speaking at the same time.
Good morning, Mr. Green. My name is Adam Chu, attorney for China Pearl. With me are Patty Moy, as she just said, along with the owner of the restaurant, the licensee, Mr. Brian Moy, and the general manager of the site, Mr. Ty Miller.
Thank you, Attorney Chu. I do see all 3 individuals on my screen. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Sergeant Detective Lucas Taxter.
Detective Kenny Curley.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Sergeant William Gallagher wrote the license premise violations.
And Officer McCauley is here also, that responded to the original incident.
Thank you. I see Officer McCauley as well. Can you are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? Can you all please raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear to tell? Ms. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the initial report into the record?
Officer McCauley.
Thank you. Officer McCauley, you may please proceed.
About 3:30 a.m. on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025, officers Alpha 103 Alpha responded radio for a person shot at Chinatown, the China Pearl restaurant. Multiple A1 units, Tango Gold 2, Tango Gold 1 responded to the scene, as well as Patrol Supervisor Jefferson, the Jake 905. Also responding were 2 Boston EMS units, Murphy, Johnson, and Armstrong Naughton. Upon arrival, officers observed the front door of the above to be locked and the lights off on the ground floor level. Officers observed multiple unknown individuals on the sidewalks and street of the above. All of the unknown individuals appeared calm and confused as to why there was a large police presence on the street. To gain access to the building, officers then broke the front door of the above and began a protective sweep of the building. Officers immediately located blood on the floor in front of the elevator on the ground level. Officers then began going up the elevator and stairwell, clearing the restaurant. Officers could hear music and voices coming from the 3rd floor. Once on the 3rd floor, officers were met by multiple patrons of the above, including restaurant manager Ty Miller and head of security Justin Miles. Multiple individuals then directed officers down a hallway and into a rear room consisting of multiple bars and a dance floor. Officers observed multiple individuals standing around a male victim laying on the ground, later identified as Benjamin Howard. Howard appeared to be suffering from multiple apparent gunshot wounds. Boston EMS then briefly evaluated Howard before transporting him to Tufts Medical Center for further evaluations. Officers then began collecting the information of all the individuals on scene. Sergeant Detective Taxter, the Alpha 983, and Detective Shirley, the Alpha 808, then arrived and began processing the scene, which lasted until approximately 6:19 a.m. Boston Board Up Company responded to the scene and secured the front door of the above.
Thank you. We have two additional reports as well.
Sergeant Detective Gallagher will be reading, I believe mine's the next one.
Yep.
On 3/22 at about 10:20 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Ken Curley, the Alpha 808, responded to China Pearl at 9 Tyler Street to speak to staff about an incident that occurred at 3:30 a.m. on 3/22/2025, BPD incident number 252022505. During that incident, a patron was shot by another patron inside the premise at 3:30 a.m. Responding officers found the victim on the third floor and he was transported to the hospital. It should be noted that responding officers had to break down the outermost door to gain entry. Ballistics were found inside the premise. Officers could hear music coming from the upper levels. Patrons were observed with alcohol. During the detectives' inspection, they spoke with Miss Vanna Tran, who was not working last night. As a result of this incident, Sergeant Gallagher issued a license premise inspection notice number 021272 to China Pearl for ABDW. It's assault and battery, dangerous weapon, gun, patron on patron, entertainment taking place after posted 2 a.m. close. Ms. Tran signed for and accepted the notice. We did also have to respond again, sir, on 3/22. I'm sorry, that's the same report. That's a copy. On 4/2/2025 at about 10, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the licensed premise. You responded to China Pearl Shoujo at 9 Tyler Street. Detectives were there to speak with staff regarding the shooting that took place on 3/2/2025 at 3:30 a.m. Detectives were able to speak with the manager, Ty Miller, who was working that evening. Mr. Miller stated that BPD had all the security camera footage from that night. Detectives were also able to observe the door in question that BPD had to break down in order to gain entrance, which was still damaged. Detectives expressed their concerns about the issues of responding officers of being denied quick access to secure because of the locked door and the failure of China Pearl staff to call 911 after the incident. As a result of this, Sergeant Gallagher issued another license premise notice, which was 020060 to China Pearl. Failure to call police and failure to cooperate with BPD, which was the locked door preventing BPD access. Mr. Ty Miller signed for and accepted the notice. We do have pictures of that outermost door that staff thinks it's a black and white photo, but the plywood is the door that the officers had to break down. There's one from inside and outside. They had one with it open. Also is a CAD sheet that was attached to that. That's a computer-aided dispatch sheet. And we could not find that China Pearl called 911 after that incident. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Attorney Chu, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Green. And good morning to Madam Chair Joyce and members of the board. I'd like to direct an initial question to Officer McCauley. In your report on March 22nd, the 5 a.m. report, you wrote that the premises appeared to be locked and the lights off on the ground floor when you arrived. Is that correct?
Yes.
So from that, would it be fair to say that the business looked to be closed?
Yes.
Okay. You also wrote in that report that you observed patrons on the upper floor. What was the basis for concluding that they were patrons and not workers?
I believed it to be the way they were dressed, and multiple of them consuming alcohol when we initially entered.
Okay, but they could have been security guards winding down their shift. Is that right? Did you consider that?
I did not.
All right, no further questions for Officer McCauley. I'd like to address a few questions, if I may, to Sergeant Detective Gallagher. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, I would direct your attention to the report that you read into the record that has the date of the March 22nd. This is around 2237 to be exact. Now, you reiterate in this report that patrons were observed. Was that just based on the initial report?
Yes, sir, it was. I was
And
not
you were
there.
not one of the, I'm sorry, you were not one of the responding officers that early morning. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you further wrote that you spoke with Ms. Vanna Tran, who was not working the night of the incident. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
So is it fair to say that you have no independent basis for believing that patrons were involved?
Only, sir, from the responding officers' reports and Detective Curley that I arrived at that conclusion.
All right, thank you. No further questions for the officers. At this time, I'd like to make a statement, if I may, Madam Chair. The violations that have been cited are based on incorrect allegations of fact. What actually happened was that the premises closed on time pursuant to their licensing hours, and the only people who were left were staff of the licensee, event staff, and members of the security company. And the two individuals who were involved in this altercation were members of that security company, a third-party independent contractor of the licensee. There were no members of the public on the premises. The report states that there were patrons, but that was just an assumption. That was factually incorrect, and that's a key point. No members of the public, no patrons were remaining on the premises after 2 a.m., and no members of the public or patrons were ever in danger in this incident. Ms. Moy has provided to the board a copy of the Toast hourly sales report that shows that the last transaction was at 1:45 a.m. prior to the closing hour. Furthermore, corroborating this is that the downstairs door was locked and the lights were off. The premises looked closed when the responding officers first came. So there were no patrons or members of the public left on the premises. That is a material fact, and that is something that absolutely must be considered by the board with regard to whether or not there was a violation. The altercation was strictly outside of the licensee's operations with regard to the public. It was a personal dispute between two members of the security team that the licensee had no knowledge about. And that is something that is the responsibility of the security team to deal with. Citation for operating past the license hour, again, can be addressed by the Toast sales report, clearly showing the last transaction was 1:45. We also have the affidavits of the employees provided by Ms. Moy via email that state that they closed prior to the 2 a.m. hour, and they were only closing up, cleaning up, taking down decorations for that specific event, which was a Women's History Month celebration. And they were the only ones there, and they were playing music for their own entertainment to pass the time while they were doing the winding down of business that evening. The sound system of the restaurant itself, the wired speakers, was not on. They were using personal devices played through Bluetooth speakers, and that was the music that was heard by the officers when they went up to the third floor. The allegation about not cooperating with the police, again, is countered by the fact that there were 911 calls placed by employees of the licensee. The affidavit, Adele DePina, states that she made that 911 call. She was on the call with the 911 operator, provided information about where the incident was taking place on the 3rd floor, and she stayed on the call until roughly 10 to 15 seconds prior to the police arriving on the 3rd floor. At no time did the 911 operator instruct anybody to go downstairs. And in fact, because there was somebody with a gun who was shooting other people, for their own safety, they feared being downstairs on their own and they remained upstairs. So it was very reasonable for them not to go open that door. They knew that the door could have been easily breached because it was a glass door. Nobody instructed them to go downstairs. They did everything reasonably for their own safety. With regard to operating, everything that they did was pursuant to the rules and regulations of the board and compliant with the statutes of the Commonwealth. There was no violation. There's no basis for any of these allegations that were used to support the citations that they were written up for.
I'm going to jump in. I think one of the officers has to leave the hearing a little bit. Officer McCauley, when you arrived on scene, what kind of music did you hear coming from upstairs?
That I don't recall.
Okay. I mean, was it loud that you heard it a couple floors down?
Yeah, I was going up the stairs with 2 other officers, and we were probably right around the 2nd floor landing when I had heard music and voices on the 3rd floor.
Okay, thanks very much. I think my other questions are for the attorney or for the China Pearl staff, but you're written up for, well, first I'm going to take them out of order. As chair of the board, I am also the executive director of the mayor's office of consumer affairs and licensing, and I license the entertainment that goes on. I'm just going to put on the record, even though this isn't an entertainment hearing, this was the very first one-day entertainment license we issued for China Pearl since November.
That's correct.
I don't believe, Ms. Moy, you do understand the rules and regulations. If there is music for your staff being piped through a Bluetooth speaker, even if it was after hours, like your attorney said. So when we say your entertainment license ends at a certain time, that means all music, background, TV, you shut the TVs off, you turn off the speakers, and you clean up. It's not for the pleasure of your staff as they're closing up that night. So we will be scheduling an entertainment hearing, a violation hearing on that side, so we don't have to go into that too much. But I would dispute that your attorney says you are familiar, whether your staff is familiar, because to me that stands out as very problematic, having been denied entertainment licenses repeatedly since November, and this was the very first one. It doesn't matter if it's background, speaker, or TV. As far as the assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, I think the testimony was that that was the security, not your staff. You do have a responsibility to notify the board if your security is armed, and we have no notice from you that you were using armed security.
Madam Chair, do you mind if I add into that? We did not authorize or even employ the security company to have armed.
Sure, but at the end of the day, this is your license. You have a responsibility to ask those questions. Are you armed? And to make sure they're not. I mean, you're putting a lot of your patrons at risk if one of your security officers has a gun and people aren't aware of that or we're not aware of that. When the police respond to a call, they will know because you've notified us that your security guards are armed. Here you're asking police officers to go in to respond to something and they don't know what they're being met with. So unfortunately, all of these, responsibilities come back on you as the licensee. It's not enough that you didn't know. And then, let me see. I think the statement was that you locked the door for your safety. I mean, that's, your attorney was saying that everyone was out, but I have to defer to the officers who showed up and said patrons were seen drinking and pointing them in the direction of where the stabbing victim was. So those are just my statements that I will think about before we vote on Thursday. But I will see if Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon have any questions.
Just to continue, were there any inquiries made to your security company regarding this person who was armed and what happened there? Anyone?
If I may, yes. They tried to find out what happened. It was a personal dispute between two members of the security team. The person who was shot, Benjamin Howard, was actually longtime friends with the person who shot him. And the person who shot him was a new member of the security team that was not very familiar to the licensee's staff, but they know him as Roscoe. And after they had their
What do you mean they know
altercation,
him did they not know who he is?
they have the names of the principals of the security company. Jamil Howard, the owner of the security company, his brother Benjamin Howard, several other principal members, but
Okay,
from time to
did
time,
they send you security personnel who they don't know who they are?
From time to time, they have new security personnel and that are not introduced yet to the staff of China Pearl.
But the company knows their name, right, and their information?
The company knows the name, the security company knows the name of all of their personnel, yes.
Okay, did you learn their name either prior to or after the incident?
We have not been able to get his full name after the incident. That
Why
level of
not?
investigation we left to the Boston Police Department as a criminal matter.
You didn't think you needed to know about it?
We asked, we did not get his full name.
Did you ask whether
identified him as Rob.
did you inquire whether this person was qualified at all to be a security guard for you?
We relied upon the third-party security company to
Yeah, you
determine
can't do that
of their staff.
You can't just rely on them. I mean, after the fact, you haven't done any inquiry to find out who this person was and why they were sent to you and whether they were qualified in the first place?
The vetting of the actual personnel is up to the security company. We hired the security company. We hired this particular security company for a very long time.
You realize that your security, this is a non-delegable duty. It's your responsibility, right? Ultimately,
it's our response. Yes, it's our responsibility to obtain security and to provide security. We've hired this security company for many events in the past. They've been satisfactory. They've been reputable, and we did not anticipate having a problem like this, which erupted as a personal dispute.
At this point, they're definitely not satisfactory, right?
At this point, they're not. No, and we're not going to.
Okay, and you haven't done any inquiry to figure out what happened here, who this person
we did.
was.
I'm
who
sorry.
The person was, whether they were qualified, why they were sent to you, why they were armed. You haven't done any of that.
Commissioner Curran, we did look into why the staff had this altercation, who the staff were, and
you don't know who they were. You just know them as Roscoe?
That was the information that we could obtain. Again, we are not in control of
did the security company withhold information from you? Are they not telling you? Are they not answering your questions?
They did not provide the information. Yes.
You asked for it.
Yes. We've spoken with the owner, Jamil Benjamin, to try to get more information. And it was not forthcoming. And that was the extent of what we could do. We don't have any police powers. The Boston Police can take over from there and continue the investigation.
Commissioner, may I say something on this topic, please?
Yes.
This is Sergeant Detective Taxter. I don't want to get too much into the investigation, but I will say on this narrow part of the topic that we have identified a suspect in the shooting. And there's absolutely no evidence to indicate that he's part of Mr. Howard's security company.
Okay, that's
which tells me he was there as a patron, not as staff. And he's also on video drinking alcohol after 2 a.m. before the shooting.
He was admitted to the premises by the security team as part of the security team. He was not scanned as a customer. There's a scanner.
Okay,
customer IDs.
Attorney Chu, are you testifying or are you going to put on a witness?
We have Mr. Ty Miller, who is manager on site, and he can continue.
Does Ty Miller have the employment records that this guy was hired, that the suspect was hired as security?
Mr. Miller and Mr. Moy can address the hiring of the security company and the personnel.
Yeah, no, it's not the company, it's the individual.
Well, they hired
this individual on the payroll at this time.
No, I'm sorry, Commissioner Curran, the individual is not a payroll employee of the licensee.
If he was hired for someone, he'd be on somebody's payroll.
Right, he's on the payroll of the security company, a third-party contracted security company.
So says you. But you're not a witness, are you?
No, that's what Mr. Miller and Mr. Moy can address. And they're here on this.
I'm asking, before they even start talking, do they have any direct knowledge of his hiring by this security company?
I will have to defer to their testimony.
Okay, do you want to inquire of them?
Yeah, so we'll call Mr. Moy to begin with. Brian Moy?
Yes.
Can you address the question of whether you have information about the individual identified as Roscoe?
We are not given an active roster of who is working the night up. We hire a third-party security company who is a 1099 contract company, and we put a request in. We go over, the events that are upcoming, expected headcount type of event.
Mr. Moy, can I stop you right there?
Yes.
So you're saying that the people that are sent to you, not only did you hire a third-party company, but you just described them as 1099 employees?
No, the security company is a 1099 company. So
that means that they don't send W-2 employees, they send 1099 employees to you.
To my understanding, we write a check to the security company, and how the security company then pays their employees is not in our control. We go over the event with the head of security company owner, and we go over how many staff is needed for the night collectively.
Do you have a written contract with your security company that addresses how the people that they're going to send you are vetted?
I do not believe so, no.
All right, so as far as you know, they're just sending you random people.
We put an account for how many people we need for the night, and they go through the vetting process. We had discussions about how they hire their staff and what their training is. And there is an extensive training that I understand of, and different certificates and licensing that the security company has.
All right, let me stop right there. On any given night, what's to stop a buddy of an actual hired security person to show up and say, I've been hired by the security company as well. I'm here as security, but that person never was. Would you know that if someone masqueraded as someone hired by your security company? You would have no way of knowing that, would you?
Typically, situations that is similar to what you're describing, they come in at the start of the night, and other security that we know will identify other security as security personnel. Different members of the security team will be stationary at stations that we identify and know that those are security posts, as well as security staff will come up to us as managers and also ask, is there anything you need us to do? At the end of the night, the collective security team have duties of clearing the room, getting people out in orderly fashion. So when we witnessed that throughout the evening, when they first arrive to work, during the event, where they're positioned, their duties during the night, their communication with management, and at the end of the night, their duties of clearing the venue and getting people out in an orderly fashion, being out on the public street of getting people to their Ubers, to their destinations without disturbing the neighborhood. So I don't know if that's a long-winded way of saying that throughout the evening and start to finish, we are introduced to security staff members that are consistent working for us, and throughout the evening, their work duties.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really address my question. I mean, so the facts that have been alleged here are that these two individuals were friends and had a pre-existing relationship. My question to you, and maybe even specifically here, like half hypothetical, what's to say that one of these people were actually hired by your security company, but the other one was never hired, but invited by the first person who was hired to come along and hang out, masquerade as a security person and just hang out all night and then hang out after hours?
We have protocol that every patron and guest that enters the door gets ID scanned. If they do not get scanned, then their staff. That's our protocol, and that's the trust that we put into the hiring of the security company to execute this protocol.
Yeah,
the ID scanner assigned
in this instance, the hypothetical is that an individual has merely stated that he's with the security company and wants to act as if he's a security guard, but he's not. You have no way of knowing that that's happening, right? Because you don't know these people. And the security company doesn't, on a nightly basis, send you a list like, this is who I'm sending over, right?
Correct. So
okay, once again, back to the original question. Do you have any direct knowledge that this person that your attorney has alleged was with the security company, was actually with the security company?
Through all the interviews and investigated internally, that is what we determined, yes.
That was never brought to the attention of the Boston Police Department.
Yeah, give me specifics.
I met with the owner of the security company. I talked to different staff, different personnel, talked to Ty Miller, and we recounted the times, yes.
Walk me through it. You met with the owner of the security company. He said he had hired this individual?
He said that they came in with the security team and he was present on the team.
And did he give you his name?
The only thing I know of is his alias or nickname of Roscoe.
Okay, why are we using nicknames in this situation?
I never was able to get his full government name.
I think that's all I have at the moment. Maybe Commissioner Saxon has something.
Just to confirm, you didn't recognize either one of these so-called guards, security guards. They were new to you, and that's for anyone at the establishment.
Benjamin was not. Benjamin has worked events before, and he is known to all the staff.
But the suspect, the second person, you did not recognize him?
Some of the staff did. I personally did not.
Some of the staff recognized him as a patron or as someone who has.
They recognized that he was part of the security team.
I'm sorry. Recognized him how? Like from a previous day, or he appeared to be security on that evening?
The exact words were, I recognized him from previous events. I recognized him with security team. Those were the common responses that when it was brought up that they recognized him.
Okay. Has anyone said that before today, that this person had worked previous events at your venue? Because I never heard that. I don't recall hearing that. this the first time anyone said that?
I personally, when I was in,
During this hearing, I'm just saying, it seems wrong to me that this is the first time you would be saying that the suspect had worked as security at previous nights. I hadn't heard that. Am I wrong?
I personally do not know if he was working previous nights or not. I'm only going off of the investigative conversations I've had internally.
All right. Who specifically said he's worked the previous night?
There was different. I think it was.
Do you have a name?
Justin from the security, who was our head security, and there was different bar staff that I spoke to.
So, and does Justin work for you or the third party?
He works for the third party.
And Justin said specifically that he's worked with this person on other nights at your premises.
He has been there, yes.
Are there any further questions at this time from the board?
I have no questions.
Sergeant Detective Taxter,
Yes.
Can you get us the video that depicts people that may or may not be patrons drinking upon arrival?
Yes, I can. I also have video of our suspect and victim arriving together at around 1:35 a.m. They weren't working security.
So can we get on the record that neither one of the security guards were drinking?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Your volume was a little low.
Sorry, were any of the security guards drinking? Can we get that from the licensee? Can they testify that the security guards were not drinking?
Attorney Chu, you have a witness?
Yes, Mr. Miller, who was the manager on site that evening, can testify as to the policy that they have, which is a common policy in the industry of post-shift refreshments that the staff are allowed to have. The security team, including the two individuals involved in this altercation, at the end of the evening, after the premises had closed and after all the customers and patrons had left, were cleaning up and did have one beer that they were enjoying while they were doing the work of cleaning
Attorney
up.
Chu, you know that's not allowed, right?
Yes, I do, and they'll reform their policies to disallow that going forward.
And you know, essentially, regardless of who you want to say it is, if someone's in there drinking after hours, you're operating after hours, right? You know that?
We understand that that is the case, yes, and they will, again, correct their policies going forward. It's just that it's been a long-standing practice within the industry.
All right. Attorney Chu, do you want to put on a witness to respond to the... I mean, we're going to be provided video, and apparently it depicts that these two individuals, arrived very late in the evening. That would go to, I think, the Sergeant Detective's conclusion that they weren't working that evening, that they just arrived. So do you want to put on a witness to rebut that?
Well, actually, I'd like to address that, and I will put on Mr. Miller to rebut that as well. But with regard to their time of arrival, it was determined by the security company that they wanted the additional help at the end of the evening to clear out the premises. So they weren't needed in the beginning for the setup, but they were scheduled to come later to work a couple of hours at the end of the night. Mr. Ty Miller, who's manager that evening, actually working there that evening, is present here at this hearing and can address any questions that the board may have.
It's for you, if you want to put on a witness or about it, you're welcome to.
Yeah, so
Miller.
we'll call Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Miller, are you familiar with the individual Benjamin Howard?
Correct. He is a security guard that has worked with us for many events.
Did he help out that night as a security guard? Did he carry out duties of a security guard?
He did. He did. He came when I did see him. He asked me if we needed help clearing out the people. He was clearing out people, as well as just being a station man around the stairwell area, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Are you familiar with the individual that's been identified by the nickname Roscoe?
I am not familiar with him. I know he was with Ben that night, and they were in close proximity with each other throughout the night when I did see them.
Okay.
But I'm not.
But do you know who Roscoe is?
I do not know who he is, no. I just know that he was with Ben working, also helping clear out people that night as well.
But you can identify him, is that correct?
I can identify him now based on, yes, the night that we.
So did Roscoe that night also come up to you and ask you about helping out?
He did. He did. It was around the bar area. Is there anything that you could do? Is there anything that I can do? Excuse me, is exactly what he said to me.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Does the board have any further questions? Okay, with that, at this time, the board will take this matter under advisement. Sergeant Tactor, if you could please provide any videos that you do have, that will be very helpful to the board.
Understood.
Thank you all. That the board will take this under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving back in order to the hearing, calling item number 3, Big House Fine Dining LLC, doing business as Scampo and Alibi, located at 215 Charles Street, date of the incident December 1st, 2024. Assault and battery with dangerous weapon, patron on employee, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A, and assault and battery, dangerous weapon, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning or good afternoon, Attorney Green, Dennis Quilty. Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning is Katina Corapines, who's the risk manager for the Lions Group, Rob LaBelle, who's the general manager of Alibi, Chris Donovan, who's also in management at Alibi. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see Ms. Corbines. I see Mr. LaBelle. I don't see Mr. Donovan. So if he could turn his camera on if he will be testifying. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
The Officer Samuel Hodge. Good morning.
Thank you, Officer Hodge. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, Officer Hodge. If you could please proceed with the police report for the board.
About 1:10 a.m. on Sunday, 12/1/24, Rooney in the Alpha 103 Alpha responded to a radio call for a fight at the Liberty Hotel, 216 Charles Street, Boston. Also assisting was the Alpha Gold 1 Alpha, Payne and Santana. Upon arrival, officers were directed just outside the front door of the hotel, where they observed the male being restrained on the ground by another male party who appeared to be a security officer, later identified as David Moore. Officers were flagged down by the officer, who was yelling for assistance as he was actively restraining the suspect, later identified as Mark Donnelly. Officers observed the suspect Donnelly being held down to be face up and was observed to be bleeding from his face. While this was going on, a large crowd was forming outside the hotel, who were clearly upset by the suspect's disturbing and tumultuous behavior. Officers assisted the security officer Moore and placed the suspect, who was being held on the ground, in handcuffs. Moore yelled that he was kicked by the suspect. Officers observed that the suspect was wearing tan boots on both of his feet. The suspect, Donnelly, was extremely agitated and resisted officers' attempts to restrain him. After officers put Donnelly in handcuffs, the suspect fell to the ground in an obvious effort to resist arrest by not walking on his own. While being placed into the cruiser, the suspect kicked at officers and stuck his feet into the door in an attempt to prevent officers from securing it inside the cruiser. After a brief struggle where officers had to pull him into the cruiser from the opposite side, the suspect was immediately the suspect began kicking the inside of the cruiser door and was striking his head off the partition. Victim number 1, James, who was employed as a bouncer for the Alibi Bar, approached officers and stated that the suspect was originally told to leave the bar for his level of intoxication. Viana stated that the suspect left and most likely went towards the elevators of the Liberty Hotel. Viana stated that he was alerted that the suspect went outside and he went out with staff to make sure the suspect was moved from the premises. Outside of the Liberty, Viana stated that the suspect challenged staff to a fight. Viana explained that he tried to de-escalate the situation and have the suspect. Viana stated that the suspect refused to leave. According to Viana, the suspect started a fight and kicked Viana, striking him in the leg while wearing a pair of boots during the confrontation. Officers received the statement of transported out of the scene as he was kicking the cruiser door and partition. After the suspect was secured, multiple other victims reported to officers that the suspect had kicked them during a fight. Officers were approached by other victims outside the hotel who reported that they had been assaulted by the suspect. Victim number 2, Eladia Ruiz, reported to officers that she was coming out of an elevator. Common state. Two, suspect. Victim stated, quote, while calling victims. Due to Ruiz, officers made numerous attempts to buff. Victim number 3, McKay, approached officers and threw a cup. Approached officers that he was slapped in the face. Moore, who was where the suspect was being disruptive to staff members. Victims that were working security were kicked in the leg, visible injuries. More officers that his leg was sore from, however, declined EMS treatment. Moore was banned for life. Also, 5 violation, and Sergeant Detective Taxter responses. The suspect was reported to A1 for booking, and while en route, suspect walked to the Officer Hodge while wearing a pair of Officer Hodge in the left thigh. During the assault, EMS requested to evaluate the suspect. The suspect was secured in the holding direct. And refused. The suspect started to push against the officer. Officer Rooney had to escort the suspect to the cell, and while doing this caused Officer Rooney to fall to the ground, striking his right knee. Moments later, the suspect was successfully secured in the cell. At the time of this report, the suspect had remained uncooperative. The suspect obscured the camera in his holding cell by moistening to the camera lens. The suspect was eventually booked and processed. Officers will be charging the suspect with the following in Boston Municipal Court: Chapter 265, Section 15A, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, foot ×4. Chapter 265, Section 13A, assault and battery ×2. Chapter 272, Section 52, disorderly conduct. Chapter 268, Section 32B, resisting arrest. Prisoner injury report completed by Sergeant Whiteman. Body-worn cameras activated.
Thank you, Officer Hodge. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident? Oh, you're correct.
Yes,
Here we go.
can you hear me all right? Tell me I'm muted.
Yep.
Can you hear me all right? Okay.
We can hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. Officer Hodge, you first made observations as you arrived on the scene and observed this struggle that was happening outside. Is that correct?
Yes, that was correct. It was like the valet parking area outside the hotel.
Okay. And that's where Mr. Moore, who was later identified as the security for the hotel, was grappling with the suspect.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the violation of the inspection notice indicates that police were called, but it doesn't indicate by whom? We are informed that it was Mr. Moore that made the call. Is that correct?
I'm not entirely sure who actually placed the call now.
Okay, but you know there was a call placed. That's how you arrived there.
Yes.
Okay. And I do want to just apologize in advance for to the board. Mr. Moore, who's an employee of the hotel, is out of the country on vacation to the best of our knowledge. We've been tried to locate him. He still works there. He was in charge on that night. He is the person who was involved, but we're unable to have him here this morning. We do believe, having been told by other staff, that he's the person who made the call to the 911 while this was going on. Did you speak, officer, to Mr. Viana as well? He's identified as victim number 1, James Viana, employed as a bouncer for Alibi.
Yeah, Officer Rooney took the statement of James Viana over the phone.
Okay. But would he be the employee who's the victim of ABDW Patron employee? It appears that way from the police report.
In terms of Patron employee, I didn't write the violation notice, but I do know both Mr. Moore and Mr. Viana were both assaulted with.
Okay. All right. And the other individuals, victims 2 and 3, that's presumably the ABDW patron on patron. So there were patrons involved as well as staff involved.
Yes.
All of whom were victims.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any interaction with Mr. Donovan, Chris Donovan, who signed the inspection notice on the night in question?
I did not. No, I was not inside for the inspection. I was up. Inspection was taken.
But you are aware that inspection notice indicates, did management cooperate with the police? Yes. Did they cooperate with you?
Oh yeah, staff ISL team were very cooperative. Yes.
Okay. All right. And you don't know, it's Mr. Donovan in the narrative, the supplemental, who accepted the notice and no other violations were observed. And he's with us this morning if the board has any questions of him. Mr. Viana, I'm sorry to say, no longer works for the establishment. He was an employee on the night in question. He was, we believe, the employee who's the victim of the ABDW patron on employee. Again, he no longer works for the establishment. Mr. LaBelle is the general manager. Mr. Donovan is also a man. He's the floor manager. He was on duty on the night in question. And again, Mr. Moore, who's hotel security, is not with us. But I would like to, if I can just ask Mr. LaBelle a couple of questions. Mr. Green, is that all right?
Yes, that is fine.
Okay, fine. Mr. LaBelle, I know you've been sworn in here. Just state your name for the record.
Robert John LaBelle.
And your position with the establishment?
General manager.
Okay, and were you present
I was
on that
not.
question?
No, my employment
And
started January 2nd.
Okay, so you are the present general manager, but you were not on duty on the night in question.
Correct.
But Mr. Donovan was.
He was the floor manager at the time, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. So you have nothing to add about the particulars of the night in question, but you are now the general manager.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Just stand by. The board may have some questions for you. I can just ask Mr. Donovan a couple of questions.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Donovan, you two have been sworn. Just state your name for the record and what your job title is, please.
Christopher James Donovan, floor manager at Alibi.
Okay, and were you present on the night in question?
Yes.
Okay, and
Sorry, excuse me, just one moment.
Yeah,
Mr. Donovan, you were not on camera when we were.
He's not on camera.
Right,
Sorry.
there we go. Thank you. I'm not sure if you have been sworn, so can you please just raise your right hand for the board? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Attorney Quilty, please proceed.
Thank you. Mr.
Chris, keep your camera
Oh, sorry.
We all good here?
Yep.
So would you, are you the individual who signed acknowledging the inspection notice on the night in question?
Yes.
Okay, and did you cooperate with the police?
Yes.
Did your staff cooperate with the police?
Yes.
Was there any indication prior to this individual being asked to leave that he would go about striking and kicking people in the hotel lobby and outside the front door of the hotel?
No, there was no indication that that was going to happen prior to him leaving Alibi.
And was he asked to leave the establishment?
Yes, he was.
Okay, and can you tell us why?
Intoxication.
And when you observe, is it when he was asked to leave that he began acting, at the very least, unusually and violently?
Correct. After he was asked to leave, that he started acting out.
And was this brought to your attention right away by staff?
Yes.
Okay, and as a result, did your staff assist in removing him from the establishment and from the hotel premises?
Yes, it was James Vienna that assisted him out of the bar.
Okay, and you've heard discussion of Mr. Moore, and he is identified as security for the hotel. Is that to your knowledge as well?
Yes, I did not speak with Mr. Moore personally. I only spoke with my security. So that's the only knowledge I have on that.
Okay, but you're aware that Mr. Moore was struggling with this individual outside?
Correct. Yes.
And then shortly thereafter, the police arrived. And did you and your staff continue to cooperate with the police at that time?
Yes.
And you signed the inspection notice acknowledging receipt?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. You may just stand by. The board may have some questions for you. Those are our witnesses. I would like to just be heard at the appropriate time with regard to the incident itself, whether that's now or subsequently. Mr. Green, Attorney Green.
Yep, thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have questions for the witnesses now, or would you like to hear a general statement from Attorney Quilty prior to moving to questions?
I'll wait for Attorney Quilty's statement.
There we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would submit, staff of the Alibi did everything possible to assist the police in this matter. This was a circumstance that just blew up out of nowhere. No one could have told that this individual would start kicking and striking people throughout the entire building, it seems, as he was being escorted out of the premises. Our staff got hit, our staff got kicked. This was an attack on everybody that worked in the building that night, and this individual was just completely out of control. I think the police report would back that up. The fact that he was striking his own head, he was not cooperating with the police, in fact, trying to resist arrest, banging around inside the cruiser, etc. These are actions and activities which we would have no way of preparing for or knowing would happen. Once it did happen, in keeping with safety of our patrons and hotel patrons, he was escorted out. He was then dealt with by hotel security and the Boston Police, and we stood by to assist in every way possible. We do believe it was Mr. Moore who made the call. Our folks didn't make the call because they knew someone else had already called at that moment in time, but they literally stood by and, as the report indicates, cooperated with the police in every respect. We don't think there's anything else that we could have done or foreseen in this circumstance. It was a horrible incident, and luckily the police arrived when they did and were able to subdue this individual before he, caused more injury to himself and others. Again, we'd stand by for any questions the board may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions at this time. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
At this time, I don't have any.
Commissioner Carmen, Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, ATG Inc., doing business as Cleary's, located at 331 to 335 Columbus Ave, dated the incident December 1st, 2024. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Attorney William Burke for the licensee, and with me is the operations manager for the group, Paul Wilson.
Thank you. I do see Mr. Wilson. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Norman Texeris here on behalf of the Boston Police Department.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this afternoon? Can you all please raise your right hand? Oh, sorry, Lieutenant Troy.
The
The reporting officer was here, but he had his case was being called in BMC, so we had to disconnect, unfortunately. So he's not here.
Thank you. Once again, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you. Detective Texera, will you be reading the report into the record for the board?
Yes, I'll start with the original narrative of the report that was taken.
Thank you.
About 2:04 a.m. on Sunday, December 1st, 2024, Officer Margado and Officer Victorin responded to a radio call for a fight at 113 Dartmouth Street. Also, following officers responded. Officers were informed by Boston Police Operations Dispatcher that about 9 males were fighting outside of Cleary's. Upon arrival, officers spoke with one victim, Joshua Powell, Cleary's employee and manager, who stated that a fight started outside the above, and he tried to intervene. Victim 1 Powell stated that at the moment, the suspect, a white male about 5'6", wearing black and white hat, dark blue jeans, grabbed Victim 1 by the throat. Victim 1 pushed the suspect away. The suspect tried to swing punches at Victim 1, to which Victim 1 blocked. The suspect then walked away towards Dartmouth Street. Victim 1 stated that the suspect appeared to be very intoxicated. Officers observed Victim 1 was unsustainable on his feet and had slurred speech, appearing to be under the influence of an unknown substance. Victim 1 declined medical attention. Officers spoke with Victim 2, Brian Brandeo, who stated that a fight started right next to him, and he was not involved in the original altercation, but ended up being punched in the face. Officers did not observe injuries on Victim 2, Brandeo's face. Victim 2 was upset that the bouncer let the suspect walk away, stating that the suspect and the bouncer are friends. Victim 2 appeared to be under the influence of unknown substance. Victim 2 declined medical attention. Officers spoke to Victim 3, Brianna Sullivan, who was with Victim 2 when the altercation happened. Victim 3, Sullivan, stated that she was dragged by the arm by a male with dreads on the sidewalk. Victim 3 was complaining of right knee pain but declined medical attention. Victim 3 appeared to be under the influence of unknown substance and was crying when talking to officers. All victims stated that they did not know the suspect. Incident number was provided to Cleary's manager. Following up with that, I did a supplement report. At about 18:25 hours on December 18th, 2024, myself and Detective Govan responded to Cleary's located at 113 Dartmouth Street to conduct a Code 35. Detectives met with manager Kelly Snogles. Detective issued a City of Boston license premise inspection notice 016906 for the violation of A and B patron on patron. Snogles signed for the violation and was given a copy in hand.
Thank you very much. Attorney Burke, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, Detective Texera, I understand that you weren't there on the original night. Is that correct?
No, I was not.
Okay, but the page 2 of the report, the initial report, states that the reporting party for this incident was in fact Cleary's, correct? They were the ones that notified Boston Police Department of the incident?
I believe so.
Okay, and this was an incident that occurred wholly outside of the Cleary's restaurant, correct? It was not within Cleary's.
It was outside of the establishment.
Okay, and with regard to the 2 other victims, Brandeo, I believe the male's name is, and Sullivan, a female, it's true, is it not, that they were not patrons of Cleary's? They were simply outside in that area outside, correct?
When I followed up with them, they said they were both inside Cleary's.
They said they were inside Cleary's?
Yes, before this occurred.
Where was that reported?
That's what I did. I followed up with them. They were victims of the assault, so I followed up with them to inquire more about the situation. They said that they were inside Cleary's as patrons, and as the night was ending, they were outside when this whole thing unfolded.
Okay, and with respect to this suspect, is there any information that was developed that the suspect that initiated this altercation was a patron inside of Cleary's?
That is unknown. I followed up by trying to obtain surveillance footage to see if he was at one point a patron inside. I was never surveillance footage of that, whether him entering or exiting. The only video footage that was provided to me was, I believe, taken by either another witness or maybe an employee of the establishment. It was like a cell phone video, maybe 15 seconds long.
Was that provided to you by Sheldon Cohen of Cleary's staff?
Yes.
Okay, and just for the commission, I'll state Mr. Cohen was going to be here today, but because of a necessary medical procedure, he's not able to be with us today, and that's why Mr. Wilson is here with us. Detective, this is a strictly patron-on-patron accusation here. There's no indication that anyone, including Mr. Powell, was aggressive or an aggressor in this incident that occurred outside of Cleary's, correct?
I do not know the extent of his involvement in it. It's my belief or understanding that he was at one point an employee or a manager at the establishment when this incident occurred. Since then, he is no longer employed there.
Right.
I will speak with him as far as what happened, if he did know the suspect in this incident.
You have no information that he knew the suspect?
No. Speaking with the victim, Brandeo, he believed under his assumption that the suspect and victim, first victim, Mr. Powell, were associates or friends.
But there's no follow-up investigation to clarify that in any way?
No.
Okay, thank you. There was no indication that Mr. Powell was in any way physically involved in any altercation with the other two folks, Brandeo or Sullivan, correct?
No, to my knowledge, he was not.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Wilson, what's the current status of Mr. Powell?
Mr. Powell is no longer employed.
And why is that?
Because of his actions during this incident. He arrived back at the location intoxicated. He wasn't served, and upon leaving the establishment, he saw this altercation outside, and he tried to break it up.
And had he been working earlier in the day?
He'd been working earlier in the day. His shift would have finished at about 7, 8 o'clock at night.
All right, and then he tried to come back in and was not served when he tried to come back in the second time?
Correct.
And this incident occurred as he left Cleary's, outside Cleary's?
Correct.
Okay. And he was terminated because of his activity and because of his behavior on the night in question. Is that fair to say?
Well, that was part of it, this and some other incidents.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I'll defer to the board if there are any questions of Mr. Wilson, or if I can provide any further information.
Thank you, Attorney Burke. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I will start with Chairman Joyce if you have any questions for the licensee.
I don't think I have any questions right now.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon.
Was Mr. Wilson there that evening?
I was not.
No, and I tried to clarify that, Mr. Curran. I would have had Sheldon Cohen here, who was there that evening, and he's the one that took the video that was provided to the Boston Police Department.
He took it, okay.
But he had the medical issue, couldn't be here today.
That's understandable. Did Mr. Cohen tell you, Attorney Burke, like how this arose? We know, like, from like the moment, pushing and shoving and maybe punches were thrown, but like, how did it proceeding? Did he have any information what preceded it?
He said, my understanding was that this was an incident that arose only after the parties were outside. There was no incident inside, and I believe the video was scanned to look for any indication of an incident that occurred inside. As far as I understand, it all occurred outside the premises.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you. If there are no further questions from the board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 will be continued to the next available hearing date at the request of the licensee. Calling item number 6, the Boston Leco Corp. Located at 71 to 79 Warrenton Street. Date of the incident, January 10th, 2024. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A, and assault and battery on a police officer ×2, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13D. Who's present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, I see Mr. Clevis. Mr. Delpidio, you're on mute.
Sorry. Charles Delpidio, George Clevis.
Thank you. Who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Lieutenant Detective Troy.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Stephen, are you there? Okay.
Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Lieutenant Troy, if you could please proceed with the police report for the board.
Reading from a report written by Officer Lambert, reads as follows. At about 2:04 a.m. on Friday, January 10th, 2024, Officer Lambert and Curran responded to a radio call for a group fighting at 279 Tremont Street. Officers were informed that a fight started inside the Royal nightclub between a group of females. The fight continued outside on Tremont Street when officers arrived. Officers were attempting to break the fight, stop the fighting and separate the parties. One of the suspects, Miss Richardson, was uncooperative and refused to give her information to officers. Miss Richardson was very visibly angry and yelling, refusing to leave the area. She attempted to walk past the officers to get to the female she was fighting. The fighting went before the officer's arrival. Officer Lambert stepped in front of Miss Richardson, informing her that she was not going over to the other female. Miss Richardson continued to raise her voice and was waving her hand at the officer. Miss Richardson then punched Officer Lambert in the face with a closed fist. Officer Lambert punched Miss Richardson and attempted to place her under arrest. Miss Richardson refused to place her hands behind her back and be handcuffed. Once Richardson was placed in handcuffs, he was able to slip one hand out. Miss Richardson was placed back in handcuffs, but refused to walk back to the cruiser. Officers were forced to pick Richardson up and bring her to the cruiser, where she refused to go inside. After a brief struggle, officers were able to get Richardson inside the cruiser. Richardson was transported to District 1, where she continued not to cooperate with officers and be booked. While officers were placing Richardson under arrest, Officer Wasinski observed one of Richardson's female friends begin to advance towards officers, upset that Miss Richardson was being arrested. Officer Wasinski assisted the female back so she would not interfere with the arrest, and she complied without any issues. As Officer Wasinski was speaking to the female, other females approached. Officer Wasinski observed a female in a white-colored sweatshirt, later identified as Miss Tribeau, punch an unknown victim in the head with a closed fist. Ms. Tribeau was placed under arrest for assault and battery and transported to District 1. Officers attempted to book Ms. Richardson a second time. She continued to be uncooperative and refused to be booked for the second time. The booking officer informed them that she was going back into the holding cell until to be booked. She refused to walk back to the holding cell, and the officer was forced to escort her back to the holding cell. She refused to go inside the holding cell, placing her hands on the cell door and wall. Ms. Richardson was charged with assault and battery on a police officer ×2, resisting arrest. Ms. Tribeau was charged with simple assault and battery. After the fight was broken up, Officer Wasinski observed blood on her left hand between her middle finger and her ring finger, caused by breaking up the altercation. There was also blood in her sleeve that may have come from another party involved in the fight. That's the extent of the police report. There's an additional report here written that I'll read. And this is written by the assigned detective, Detective Keneally, and it reads as follows. On Wednesday, January 10th, Detective Keneally received notification suspects in the incident were placed under arrest at 279 Tremont Street. The suspects, Ms. Tribeau and Ms. Richardson, were placed under arrest by virtue of subsequently arraigned at Boston Municipal Court. I'm sorry, the additional report is written by Sergeant Detective Taxter, and it reads as follows. On Sunday, January 12th, about 1 a.m., Sergeant Detective Taxter and Detective Samaras went to Royal to issue a license premise violation regarding the previously mentioned incident. After speaking with management, it was determined that Royal was closed on 1/9 into 1/10, and the patrons involved have been inside Candy Bar at 275 Tremont. Both clubs are in the same building. Detectives then spoke with Candy Bar manager, Mr. Del Pietro, and issued a license premise violation for assault and battery patron on patron ×2. Mr. Del Pietro signed for and accepted the violation. The detectives observed no other violations. The board was furnished with Genetec video of the incident from across the street, the parking lot. And that's the extent.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. Mr. Clevis, Mr. Del Pidio, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, please. Thank you. On this particular night, we had no more than 100 people in the venue. On this evening, there was two groups of women. They were enjoying themselves when a minor argument arose between them. Despite our efforts to de-escalate the situation, the argument continued and escalated. Security intervened to diffuse the tension, but the woman remained unresponsive to our request to leave. To ensure the safety of all patrons, we decided to escort one of the groups out our back door. That's onto Warrington Street, and we are on Tremont Street. We waited approximately 5 to 10 minutes before guiding out the second group through the main door. The group escorted through the back door, came around the corner to the front of the building, and resumed arguing and fighting. Recognizing the escalation situation, we promptly called the police. Upon arriving at the scene, the police attempted to de-escalate the conflict, but the women refused to listen to either security or the police officers. Security police officers were forced to intervene to separate the combatants. Fortunately, no injuries were reported, and security did not want to press charges. As a result, the police were compelled to arrest a few individuals in the altercation. Since we had this night, that was a brand new night we were trying, and right after this altercation with the people, I could see that this night would not work, and I canceled the night right then and there. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is, why people just can't go out and have a good time without acting this way. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
I'm just looking over the file. I don't think I have any questions right now.
I have questions.
Mr. Saxon?
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. And you.
Thank you.
Calling the final item on now this afternoon's agenda, item number 8, DD West Broadway Boston LLC, doing business as Dumpling Daughter, Inc., located at 475 West Broadway in South Boston. Date of the incident, March 7th, 2025. Premise open past posting closing hour. DoorDash and website ad posts 2:45 to 3 a.m. in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi, I'm Nadia Lou Spellman, the founder of Dumpling Daughter.
Great. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Spellman, and thank you for your patience this morning in a very long hearing. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Are there any other individuals with first-hand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please read the police report for the board.
Good afternoon. I'll read from a police report which I wrote on 3/7/2025 at about 10:50 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, followed up on a complaint that Dumpling Daughter was staying open past its posted 1 a.m. closing. Detectives had inspected Dumpling Daughter back in 2/28/25 and did not observe a posted common victual license. During the inspection, the manager stated his closing time was 2 a.m. on the weekends.
Further investigation by detectives revealed that Dumpling Daughter's website advertises a 2 and 3 a.m. closing on Thursdays and Saturday nights. In addition, DoorDash ad carries a 2:45 closing time on weekends. Dumpling Daughter's current common victual license is listed a 1 a.m. closing. As a result of what detectives had served, signed Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 017996 to Dumpling Daughter for premise open past posted closing hours, website, DoorDash, 3 a.m. closing. Detectives instructed staff to operate within the posted hours. Mr. Juan Morales signed for and accepted the notice. And there are enclosed in the packet here the actual website postings and the copy of the 7-day common victual license. So,
Thank you very much. Ms. Spellman, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to apologize to Officer Gallagher and Hernandez for the inconvenience of having to come over. I clearly today shows that there's way bigger problems, and apologize that you guys have to spend time coming over to us. We don't even serve alcohol. So, you know, the concern here is really just violating our common victular. And what I just would like to address is that, you know, I've been in business for 10 years now, and I have several restaurants. I also grew up in restaurants in Boston with my parents in the 80s. And honestly, we're just trying to make the business run and make it work and serve the community. And I apologize for opening later than what the CV states full-heartedly. But I think what is really important to remember here is that, you know, a lot of people are drinking in South Boston. And one of the things that they do is they come to us for food, and we don't serve any alcohol. And, you know, I'm really big on serving the community. I'm in 4 cities with my restaurants, and I listen to the feedback of my customers, and our customers in Southie really want food late night. And so the way that we make our business work is to serve people after they leave the bars, feed them food. And 1 year after we opened, we realized that we weren't doing any business before 5 p.m. And so we adjusted to open later because we were listening to the feedback of the community. And we were doing better sales as a result, which allowed us to pay our rent and our labor and our food costs, which, you know, is part of running the business successfully and being able to stay. And we were serving them. And after Officer Hernandez and Gallagher showed up, we immediately closed at 1 a.m. per the license, immediately. And we have sales from our stopped selling food after 1. What we did fail to do is to update those websites. And quite honestly, I do a lot. I have several employees. I have a frozen food business, a sauce line, and I'm a mom of 2 little kids. And I forgot to ask my IT person to change the hours. And that's really what happened. But we can show you that we did not ring any sales after 1 a.m. after the first visit from the officers. And so we apologize. It was really, you know, us trying to do business as best as we can and serve the community. And then I personally forgot to have my IT person change the hours. And then when they returned with the citation, we were like, oh shoot, that's something that slipped through the cracks for us. And so apologize for that as well. And just to show you that, you know, I'm trying the best I can to run my businesses. Now that we can't open past 1, we've seen sales dip naturally. And so we are applying for breakfast hours, and Dumpling Daughter is going to try to serve breakfast sandwiches in the morning and try something else, because in business, we just constantly try to pivot. And that's really the only reason why we were opening later, because people wanted it. And quite honestly, you know, they needed the food after the bars. And that's just the name of the game in business. But, you know, we abided by the request of not opening after 1. Then I forgot to have IT department change it, or the young man that does IT. And now we're going to try breakfast. And quite honestly, out of all my stores, this is the worst performing store. And we're trying our best to keep it open. So we're going to do breakfast. We're going to give it a shot. and hope it will work, because I do have a very soft place in my heart for Boston. My parents started their restaurants here in 1978, and I really hope that we can make it.
Thank you, Ms. Spellman. With that, we'll see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
You know that you can apply to amend your hours to 2 a.m. if you'd like, but you need to have a community process.
Yeah, so we know that there's two businesses, Lincoln and Loco, that are closing at 2. And I don't know if, that's what I want to do at this point. We have to think about what the sales are between 1 and 2 and if it's really worthwhile for us. It was actually like big crowds were coming in between 1 and 3, but we have to do a better study around it. But, I'll talk to my team and see if they think it's worth opening till 2. We also do want to try the breakfast and see if we can create a crowd and, maybe get some young people to post on social media that there is breakfast there, whatever works. So, but thank you, Kathleen. I think that's can be considered.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you for being with us. Those
Okay,
are
apologies again for the trouble.
No, thank you.
Thank
Those
you.
are all the items before the board this afternoon. That will adjourn this hearing. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. The board will vote Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Thank you all.
Thank you.